There's more than just used auto sales in the Southeastern Conference. We got international business folk. We've got attorneys. We've got doctors. We've got good old-fashioned black gold Texas teas.
Well, I'm glad you said this because this is really interesting. Because who'd you say said this?
Colin Cowherd.
He's a retard. I'm just going to say it. I'm just coming out and saying it because that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard.
In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all, or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dawg.
Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dawg. I am the dog, and with me as always is the guy that can sense when evil is present, the chicken. What up, dog?
Welcome to the jungle.
The reason we talk about evil being present is on today's show, we are going to do a forecast show on your or someone's
Somebody, not ours.
Missouri Tigers. And if you have been a follower of Chicken and Dawg for any length of time, and I would even say just maybe one episode, because it usually gets brought up every episode at some point, that we believe that Eli Drinkwitz has some little magic, voodoo, evil, something going on over there that just cause him to win games that he shouldn't win.
Agreed. So, I've seen too many episodes of Ozark with Jason Bateman. I think that there's something going on over in that part of the country, and I think Eli is deep in it.
Yeah, I think so too. But before we do, there's a few things that we need to talk about. And I think first and foremost, our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers go out to the family members of Corey Adams. Corey Adams was an Ole Miss incoming freshman that was killed, I think, somewhere in the Memphis area a week or so ago. And look, man, I hope his family listens to the show and lets you know that the Chicken and Dawg are praying for you for sure.
Absolutely.
Another quick thing we want to talk about is, and because we've talked about this guy quite a bit on the show in recent weeks or months, is who's the best quarterback in the SEC, right? Is it Garrett Nussmeier? Is it Lenore Sellers? Or is it DJ Lagway? I don't know. But DJ Lagway has a calf strain. Now, I don't know how serious it is, but he's in a boot, and he is limited right now in fall practice starting. That's interesting.
It's interesting. As you say, we don't know how severe it is, so there's nothing to suggest at this point that he's going to miss any playing time, right? Like he's in a boot. Let's keep it light for him. We'll see, right? Like if the intensity builds over the next few weeks in his ability to work out and press that calf, then he should be fine. Even if he's not, if you're Florida, do you care if he necessarily has limited availability in your first game? Probably not, right? Like that's a tune-up effort. Get him out there for the first quarter, the first half, and then let him take a break and rest up. You definitely want this guy healthy for the conference schedule. I don't see this really affecting his season too much at this point.
Well, you know, he did get hurt last year. He missed quite a bit of spring practice this year already due to a shoulder injury. Now he's got this calf sprain. You know, I don't know, man. I may have to disagree with you just a little on this. If he cannot get, I know it doesn't happen often, but here's one of them. If he can't get healthy quickly and start being part of his team, I think that could play an effect on him because he needs to gel with the new coming people that are in and just get a good rhythm. What you don't want to do, because what they're saying is there's the next man up is going to be running first team reps in practice. That's where you start getting that chemistry and that bond back. And he missed several games last year. Remember, he came in from a Graham Mertz. So it's not like he played all of last year. So I think this potentially could be an issue for the Florida Gators. Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that potentially. I just don't know how much of it happens at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, kind of feel bad for Billy Napier on this just a little bit. You know what I mean? He thinks he's finally got maybe a piece of the puzzle that he's been missing at his program, and now he's down. So we'll see. Something else we want to talk about really fast is, since we're talking about the Missouri show, I think it's proper to say, announce that Eli Drinkwitz, the evil one, just got a contract extension. So how cool is that?
It's odd, is what it is. So I was looking at this, and I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I'm not the best at searching out different information.
We're missing B.
We're missing B. He's been extended from his contract expiring at the end of the 28 season to the end of the 29 season. So, wow. He is in his 5th year now with the Tigers, right? With an astounding record. Hang on to your socks and watch out, Kirby. He's got a 38-24 record with the Tigers.
That's a Saban-esque kind of record, isn't it?
I mean, he is hot on the trail. The only thing he's missing is multiple national championships, right? I don't know why that's not in his treasure trove at this point with such an outstanding record, but they've extended this guy. The only things that I can honestly find is that it included in this deal is additional money for his assistants and support staff and things like that surrounding the football program. So I don't know if that is where the large influx of cash is going to go, is to help support that. Because listen, college football has changed. Mm-hmm. If you look at most of these programs, they have additional administrative positions, general management type positions. It's That's managed right. a lot like an NFL franchise now. So maybe that's part of this and where the money goes, and they just kick Eli an extra year. I don't know, but whatever. Missouri continues to play in the realm of evil by keeping this guy around for one more season. Good luck.
Yes, but as I said, this is going to be the forecast show for the Missouri Tigers, but Eli is going to have to wait just a few more minutes before he gets to hear what the chicken and dog has to say about his season, because we are going to talk about this episode of The Dog Bark, brought to you by Chicken and the Dog. Hope, and in the very near future, a new sponsor. We're working out the final details. He is going to be sponsoring the Dog Bark, and so we're excited about that for sure. But let's get started. Now, I think because I'm old and my memory is not what it once was, I think this might actually be, our first comment may actually be a question back to us. I like it. This, to me, is a great example of what we want out of our listening audience, right? Come back at us, talk to us, ask us questions, and let's have some dialogue. So this guy named Manuel Mendoza, talking about the Texas A&M episode, he comes back and says, does Elko have more or less than what he scrambled to put together last year?
Ooh.
What a great question.
That is a great question. Manny, welcome to the show. I think that he's going to have more this year than he had last year because he's building something, right? And let's just break it down to basic analogies. When you're building something, you start with nothing, and then you add a little bit, and you add a little bit more, and you add a little bit more until finally you've got your finished product. So by nature, I think that Elko is going to have more. It might not translate into dramatic differences in the win-loss record. A&M is still going to be good this year. You're not, I don't think, looking at an A&M team that struggles in the SEC or misses out on a bowl game or anything of that nature. I think they're still going to be good. But it's not going to be a light switch moment where, in my opinion, now you've heard others on this show say that they think that A&M is going to be a playoff team. There are others out there in podcast land that think A&M is going to be a playoff team. I don't think it's going to be that type of a light switch for Elko this year. But yes, to answer your question, I do think he has more, and I think it's going to show on the field. Just don't know how heavily it will impact the win-loss record from last season.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that 100%. See, I'm coming back around to agreeing with you again. This is how that works. But yeah, I agree with you. I think he's got, I'm not going to say it's his full team yet, but it's more of his team this year than it was last year, right? He's gotten his recruits in. He's gotten in his transfers that came, that come with him. I think he's going to put some. I think he's going to have an okay year this year. I do, but I think he has more to work with this year for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
And look, Texas A&M as a whole. I'm not going to say Elko falls into this category, but Texas A&M as a whole. They didn't want Texas to come to the SEC. I think they liked the separation of Texas and the A&M and the SEC, and Texas being in the Big 12. And I think it played well for Texas A&M to have them in the Big 12, especially when it came to recruits. Recruits wanted to come to the SEC. Now that is flipped, I don't know if there was pressure in the air or what in Texas, and that may have played into a lot of different things with A&M's season last year. But I think they'll have a better year this year. I think Elko's better.
Yeah, I think Elko's better. I think Elko is going to continue to be better. It's interesting that you talk about Texas coming into the SEC and the recruits. Colin Cowherd made a comment last week, I don't know, about he thinks that the Big Ten is eventually going to surpass the SEC because of all the money that they got, and then made the comment, hang on, SEC fan, made the comment that the money in the Southeastern Conference was because there was a lot of car dealerships down here. Now, let's not take that as a slight to any wealthy boosters who get it from the automotive industry. Right?
That's right.
Hats off to you. But I'm going to tell you that for Texas and for Texas A&M, there's a lot of money right there, Colin.
See,
there's more than just used auto sales in the Southeastern Conference. We got international business folk. We've got attorneys. We've got doctors. We've got good old-fashioned black gold Texas tees. And I'm going to tell you that Elko and the Aggies, Manny, your Aggies have the resources to build something very special.
Well, I'm glad you said this because this is really interesting. Because who'd you say said this?
Colin Cowherd.
He's a retard. I'm just going to say it. I'm just coming out and saying it because that's the dumbest statement I've ever heard. Prior to NIL, what were the two wealthiest, or not the wealthiest schools, but let's look at it this way. What was the two most money-generating football programs in the country prior to NIL?
I would argue the two. That I don't know if that's a strong. Notre Dame is going to be up there.
Texas was number one
there. Well, I'm saying I'm not trying to rank them. I'm just going off the top of my head. Notre Dame, Texas, Texas A&M, obviously Oregon because of all the Nike stuff. I think Oregon, and then in parentheses it says Phil Knight. But those would be kind of my top four. Take a shot at. I don't know where Ohio State sits in that mix, but that would be my thought on who the wealthiest programs were
prior to NIL. Texas, the University of Texas, generated $100 and something million worth of revenue. 130, I think it was 137 million if my memory serves me correct. Alabama was second with like 95. The two top, now this, keep in mind, you got this leaves out the Nikes of the world. It leaves all of them get their hands out of it. This is just generating from ticket sales, sponsorships, TV rights, media rights, and things like that. The top two were from the Southeastern Conference, or now from the Southeastern Conference. So I thought that was a very stupid statement by that guy, just not accurate at all. Do I believe that the Big Ten is going to continue to grow and morph into even a better conference? I would agree with that. I can agree with that. NIL is going to change everything. And you're going to have what you've had in the Southeastern Conference for many years, in my opinion, is you've had 3 or 4 or 5 schools every year that were really good, that had a shot, right? Other than Alabama had a shot every year for the longest time under Nick Saban. But other than that, you had the Georgias, you had the Floridas, you had the LSUs of the world. You had Texas A&M giving you fits here and there. These big schools that had the opportunity. The Big Ten, who have they really had over the years? Ohio State and Michigan. That's really all that they've had. You can't count Notre Dame is not part of your conference, so don't put them in your bucket. So I just think that's a dumb statement. I think in the upcoming years you'll have, we talked about this argument, right, about the Big Ten, the 16-team playoff. They want 4 guaranteed spots. I think all likelihood you're going to have 4 every year anyway. Mm-hmm. I think some years you'll have 4, some years you'll have 5, some years you might have 3, but you're going to probably average 4 every year regardless. So, and I think that's where college football is going. But I just think going to overcome that that joke is stupid.
Well, the other thing to look at, and I'll make it quick here. If you look at who the SEC, the additional teams that the SEC has brought in, and were either already aligned with this statement or easily adopted the statement of the conference, that it just means more. The SEC schools, the SEC programs are just completely involved, completely invested in absolute success, both for their individual program and for the conference. If you look at what the Big Ten, in my opinion, has brought in, they're fair weather. Now, what do you mean by that, Chicken? Well, let's just take 2 programs and line them up side by side. And we're going to take Vanderbilt, and we're going to take UCLA. If Vanderbilt gets spanked again this year, as they typically do in football, those folks will still show up week after week after week because there's that hope, there's that investment in the conference, there's that investment in the program. When UCLA gets spanked, which they typically do for decades now, which is a shame because they are a storied program in college football, but they're just not good. Fans don't show up in Los Angeles to watch the Bruins get whipped again. There's not that investment from the base. When that's your problem, then your Big Ten surge past the SEC never becomes reality.
That's right. No doubt. And if you look at, I think you kind of hit on it really, and I'll say it really fast. If you look at, I can't remember the Big Ten, they didn't bring 2 schools in last year. They brought in, I think, 4 new ones. The SEC, they brought in 2. And 2 is what you like to call blue blood programs. Both of them historic. OU and Texas, historic programs. And so as much as it's kind of goofy that they're going all the way out to Texas to be in the Southeastern Conference, I mean, kudos to the SEC, really. I'm going to mention this just because I want to clarify this. I think we should clarify it just for any Patriots out there. First and foremost, I am a Patriot. So is the Chicken. I served my country. Chicken is surrounded by people that served his country. His daughter served this country. It looks like his son-in-law is about to start serving his country. So, I mean, we're pro America. We're pro Patriots. I mean, we love our military. So, with that being said,
I don't know where this is going.
You will in a second. We had this guy named Anthony Lehman. I hope I said your name right. If I didn't, I apologize. His comment was, if you looked it up, you'd know the actual story behind it being there, and Iraq wasn't involved. We're talking about the water tower painted with the Tennessee T in Iraq. Look, that was just meant to be fun and funny. Yeah. Just want to make sure that was just chicken dog playing around.
Anthony, first of all, thank you for watching the show, or at least the snippet that you saw. But second, keep watching, keep paying attention, because one of the things I think you'll learn rather quickly is we like to have fun, and we don't do that deep of a dive on stuff that just tickles. And that image that I saw tickled, and it was a fun way to take a cheap shot at the University of Tennessee. If I offended you or anybody else with that joke, get over it. Learn to laugh, my friend. Learn to laugh.
We did have another comment on there, which I thought was really funny. It says the guys, I'm assuming he's talking about you.
Don't
he says, this guy's voice is the Cookie Monster's.
Hey, C is for chicken, and that's good enough for you.
That's right. Let's see. Look, man, this is what I love. I'm going to read you several comments real quick. This is on this talking about the A&M episode, right? This is what college football is about. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, yes, I think that people should put logic and intelligence into anything that they talk about. Don't get me wrong. But their love for their team is fantastic. And I'm going to show you I'm going to read you some typical comments from college football fans, SEC fans, that you will see from time to time, especially with the NIL. So we're talking about is the episode it was an A&M episode, and I mentioned that Noah Thomas has left A&M, which was their best receiver last year. You know, for the most part, I believe that's correct. I think stats-wise, he was the best. And went to Georgia, went to portal and went to Georgia. It says, both receivers A&M got out of the portal were better than Noah Thomas. What are y'all talking about? Well, how do you know? Have they ever played it down at A&M? That was by a guy by the name of The Clubhouse. Yeah. This other guy, Hardish, I don't know. Le'Veon Moss might be the best back in the SEC. What are you talking about?
Keep going.
JRRC, no talent, huh? Le'Veon Moss led the SEC till he got hurt. KC was great for NCS. Mario Craver was awesome at MSU. Amario Daniels is one of the best secondary backs in the nation. There's no lack of talent. Can Marcel Reed lead the offense?
Is this how you guys warm up for yell practice? Is online?
I think so. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at that because, I'll just leave it at that. But these guys they're defending their guy leaving. Mm-hmm. You know, like, oh, he wasn't no good anyway. That dude sucked. No.
We're glad he went to Georgia. Because that's what Kirby wants. Kirby's out there looking in the portal, trying to find out the best mediocre player he can find.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure they're in the same breath they're saying that we're glad he left Georgia. He wasn't that good. They're probably also going, thank God I don't have to play Georgia this year.
Right. So I'll say this. I'm going to come back to what we were saying against Colin Cowherd's comments and tip my hat to these A&M fans. This is why it means more in this conference. You guys are getting bent out of shape over what we said about what your roster might look like. And let me make this clear also before we get into Missouri's roster this year. It's a might. None of these schools that we have talked about as of July the 30th have played a single snap this season. Okay.
That's right.
So it's all a might. It's all a might. It's all a projection. It's all a forecast. Good luck to all of you. Warm up your vocal cords instead of your fingers on the keyboard, and let's keep that intensity going for a great season.
Absolutely. All right, so that's enough of the dog bark. Let's jump into this season real quick. Let me run through their games, and I'm going to let you dive into their roster. All right, so Mizzou opens up with Central Arkansas. I guess that's what the C stands for?
Yes.
Then they got to play Kansas, then Louisiana, Not mistaking that with LSU. It's not Louisiana State, just Louisiana.
Louisiana Lafayette. Yep.
Then South Kakalaki. Then UMass at home. Alabama at home. Then they got to play Auburn on the Plains. Then they have to go to Nashville and take on Vandy. Then they come back home and take on A&M, Mississippi State. Then they go back on the road to finish the last two games out with Oklahoma and Arkansas. We'll get into the schedule more closely in a minute, but I don't think it's an easy schedule for the evil one.
No, and it's deceptive as well. You look at it and you think, well, this might play out well for them. Their first 6 games are at home. 6. Then they've got 6 left on the schedule. Only 4 of them are on the road. They play 8 home games this year. The home team. We'll get into that more later. But yeah, just at first glance, you're like, wow, what an easy road that they're going to have. Not so fast, my friend. Let's start talking about the roster. And let's be real about how the draft and the portal affected you this year. First off, Brady Cook out at quarterback. He is now trying to make his way in the NFL. You were looking to have a battle, if you will, between Drew Pine, who left in the portal, and Bo Pribula, who arrived from Penn State in the portal. Now it's Bo's job. Conceivably, it's completely Bo's job. He's a graduate player this year, very sparingly with Penn State last season, threw for 275 yards, 5 touchdowns. So he's effective in the pocket. He's an effective runner. He picked up 256 yards on the ground and 4 touchdowns running the football last year. So he's not an incapable player. Missouri's offense is going to be different than Penn State's offense, and he's a grad guy. So he's entrenched in what he knew. Is he going to be able to catch on to the nuances of an Eli Drinkwitz offense and be effective in this program? We'll see, right? They obviously believe heavily in him and are very excited about what he's going to bring to the table. Sam Horn is going to be backing him up. And Matt Zollers, I think, is the one to watch. True freshman, 4-star quarterback. I think that he's going to be the guy that you might see getting some playing time depending on injuries, depending on effectiveness. If Bo starts throwing too many picks or people get hurt, you might see Zollers in there. But if Eli can keep him around, I think that he's your guy for the future. The running back room, golly, you guys got hit here too. Nate Noel and Marcus Carroll, both gone. Okay, so you've got Ahmad Hardy, who's transferring in from Louisiana Monroe, okay, for all of your Duck Commander fans out there. But let's just talk about that for a second. Very effective at ULM, but ULM is in the Sun Belt, folks. That's not the Southeastern Conference. You ain't running against SEC defenses in the Sun Belt. You're running against Sun Belt defense. And so it's not that big of a deal to see this guy coming in with 1,300 yards last season and 13 touchdowns. Like, he had a great year in the Sun Belt Conference, no doubt about it. But that's not a direct translation into how effective he'll be in the SEC. I think he'll be good. I think, and we'll get to it, he's got a good line to run behind. I just don't know that it's going to translate into another 1,000-plus yard season. Marquise Davis, a true freshman, no idea what he's going to be like. 6 foot, 213 pounds, 4-star incoming freshman. So we'll see the effectiveness there. I like Ahmad Hardy as your starter. I just don't know enough about the guys behind him to say what kind of depth that you've got in the running back room. Wide receiver, this is where we talked about it with Luther Burden being gone. Theo Weiss Jr. is also gone. Those two accumulated 1,500 yards between them last season, 121 catches and 10 touchdowns between the two of those. They're both gone, right? So you're starting over essentially at your wide receiver position, and this has been a big deal for Eli and his offense is the solid effort, the solid players that they had at the wide receiver room. I just don't see that yet, Missouri fan, Kevin Coleman comes in from Mississippi State. He had a good year. Now, again, that's SEC experience, right? And Mississippi State was good at one thing. That was slinging the ball around the field trying to score points. He picked up 932 yards and 6 touchdowns last season for the Bulldogs. You've got Marquise Johnson, played in 11 games, 352 yards and a touchdown. Josh Manning played in 13 games, caught 13 passes, 192 yards and a touchdown. Another guy coming in as a grad transfer, Xavier Lloyd. He comes in, I believe, from Louisville, or it could be Ball State, excuse me. Anyway, he picked up almost 1,000 yards last year, 909 yards through the air, 6 touchdowns for that guy. So you've got some guys in this wide receiver room that know how to catch the football, but how effective are they going to be as a new unit without any returning player that was already a standout? Luther Burden III was already a standout last year. Theo Weiss Jr. was already a standout going into the 2024 season. I don't see that with this room right now. The tight end room,
all with a new quarterback too.
All with a new quarterback. The tight end room, you're not grading out that strong, big guy. You got a B- for your starter and a C+ at your depth. Brett Norfleet, known as a receiver. Vince Brown, the second, transfers in from Colorado State, known as a receiver. Both of those are upperclassmen. Vince Brown, the second, is a redshirt senior. Brett Norfleet is a junior. At least Norfleet was a 4-star. Okay, Brown, the second, goose egg. No stars coming out of high school. And let me tell you this much. He went to JUCO, then he transferred into Colorado State. Now he's coming into Missouri. I don't hold out a whole lot of hope for this guy, but we'll see. Missouri, not known really for overutilizing the tight end position, right? So if it gives Pribula another option to dump the ball off to, great. You've got some receiving tight ends there, but we'll see. The offensive line is my top grading position on the offense, which is a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, everybody wants the flashy quarterback, the flashy running back, the wide receiver that can just kick it downfield and nobody can catch him. But all of that starts with these 5 guys up front. You've got 2 guys that have transferred in your right guard and your right tackle, Keegan Trost at right tackle and Dominic Judas. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Dominic. I apologize if I said it wrong. He's coming in from Michigan. Keegan Trost is coming in from Wake Forest. Both of these guys, solid players, 6'4", 312 pounds, and 6'4", 316 pounds. So some serious meat on that side of the line. Otherwise, at left tackle, left guard, and center, you've got the cohesive unit returning from last season. And the depth behind these guys is solid. Your O-line at Missouri is going to provide opportunities for your quarterback to have time to throw it and your running backs to have holes to run through. Defense, overall, you're looking pretty good. You've got, we talk about transfers. Let's dive into the defensive line. And okay, well, A&M lost this guy to Georgia, but nobody cares. He wasn't any good. Well, tell that to Missouri, who went out and got Damon Wilson from Georgia at defensive end. 5-star out of high school, junior, not a whole lot of opportunity. And my guess is that's why he left Georgia, is he just wasn't seeing enough playing time there. But hey, there's a lot of depth at Georgia. So let's all understand that. I think right now he's going to be third on the depth chart at defensive end. But one thing that we've seen in the SEC is not only with the running backs, but on the defensive line, constant rotation. So just because you might be the third option at defensive end or edge rush doesn't mean that you're not getting as many snaps as the starter at that same position. Still an obvious chance to shine for Wilson coming in. Zion Young is listed as number 1 at the defensive end position. He had 17 tackles, 3 sacks last season. Going down, Nate Johnson is your next man up at defensive end, 23 tackles, 4 sacks last season. Chris McKellen at defensive tackle, 25 tackles and 3 sacks last season. Nate Johnson, by the way, another transfer. He comes in from Appalachian State. Braylon Henderson, a grad player coming in from Ohio. So some movement there at the defensive line position. Their starters grade out at a B+. The depth at this position, an A+. 4 stars running down the line, a 5-star former player, and Damon Wilson. A lot of good, solid experience at that position. The linebackers, mediocre, my friend. Your starters grade out at a B, your depth at a B minus. Josiah Trotter, probably your biggest name coming in from Wake Forest this year. He had 66 tackles last year, 1 sack and 1 interception. And then you've got some good commitments in both Dante McClellan, a true freshman 4-star, and then Jason King, a true freshman 3-star, but not a whole lot of impressive depth at the linebacker spot. Probably some more movements after this season in the transfer portal. Defensive back is looking pretty solid, but I'm going to tell you from my position, it could be temporary because it's all veteran. Now, that's a great thing to have. It's a good problem to have. But when Jalen Cantillon and Dalen Carnell are both grad players, Jalen transferring in from UNLV after spending some time at Texas, 25 tackles last year, 2 sacks and 5 picks. So pretty impressive number for a defensive back. He's playing safety. Dalen Carnell is listed at the other safety position, 19 tackles last year, 0 interceptions, 0 sacks. Look for him to hopefully step up his game. Stephen Hall at the cornerback position, transferring in from Washington State. He had 13 tackles last year and 1 pick. And then Dre Norwood pulling up on the other side. Both those guys are redshirt seniors. So you've got grad, redshirt senior, Pride junior, a true senior behind them. It's just a lot of experience, but it's a lot of experience in the depth of this room. And then when you get down toward the bottom of this, you've got a CJ Bass III and Mark Manfred III coming in as true freshmen, likely going to sit this year. Just because of all the depth that Missouri has in the defensive back room, your true freshmen are likely to sit and gain some practice experience and learn from these vets so that hopefully that depth grade can transfer into your starter grade next season. Don't care about kickers and punters, my friends. That's not what this show is about. We like talking about the guys that put up the big numbers on the scoreboard. So that rounds out what we're looking at in terms of the roster for this season for the Missouri Tigers.
You know, not that impressive as far as an SEC roster, So it's going to be really interesting on how this season is going to play out for the Missouri Tigers. So with that being said, let's dive into their games, right? So like I said, they open up with Central Arkansas. That's a W. We'll give them that. The next game, they host Kansas. Because we're an SEC show, I don't know Kansas's depth chart. We haven't dived into that. However, Kansas has been coming up lately. So, man, I'm still going to give the edge to Mizzou on that. But it could be a good game.
It could be a good game. Kansas has been tricky over the past couple of years. They are typically a second half of the season team. So I think Missouri's got that going for them in this matchup. I'm like you, SEC, as much as I don't like Drinkwitz, which translates into I wish Missouri did better. I'm going to give them the edge in this game. This is the second game of the season, so I'm going to say that they pick up the W against Kansas.
You just better hope that because one of the things that has made Kansas good over the last couple of years is they've had some pretty good quarterbacks. Now, I don't know what the quarterback situation looks like this year. I don't know if they've got a guy returning or not. But if they do, and Mizzou has not worked out their quarterback room yet and got it really solid, that game could be fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Next, they take on Louisiana. I'll give them a W on that one as well. Then they host South Carolina. I think that's their first L.
I agree. They're coming into this game at 3-0. As we mentioned before, they start off their first half of the season at home. So if there's any edge in my mind that they have in the game against the Gamecocks, it's the fact that they are in Columbia, Missouri, and not Columbia, South Carolina. However, we just went through that depth chart, and it is not an overwhelmingly impressive one. It's not bad. It's not bottom of the barrel, but I don't think it's the kind of roster that takes on and beats Lenora Sellers and the South Carolina Gamecocks this year. This game is always played close. It's, as much as I hate to admit it, it's a rivalry of sorts, but I think South Carolina comes out on top in this one and gives them their first loss.
I think so too. Then they host UMass. I would say that's a W. So now they're 4-1. Then they host the Crimson Tide. Yeah, I don't even think that. I don't even think they shouldn't even show up to their own stadium in that game. After going over their depth chart, I don't think it's pretty at all. Then they go on the road, and here's where things get interesting. They go on the road to the Plains and take on the second team from the state of Alabama, which is Auburn. And I'm going to tell you, because we haven't gone over Auburn's depth chart this year, my gut tells me Auburn's going to be a better team than they were last year. Hugh Freeze is going to put together a better program football team this year than last year. I think this is a very hard game for Mizzou, and I think it delivers them their third loss.
I completely agree, and there are several factors that play into this. As you mentioned, we've not done a forecast show for Auburn, haven't looked deeply at their roster, but Hugh Freeze is a good coach. Mm-hmm. Right now, you've got a lot of teams, a lot of commentators like ourselves that are kind of looking past Auburn a little bit, and I don't know what they're going to be. Translates to, I don't know that they'll be that much. But let's look at something else here. We've talked about it a couple times. Missouri's first 6 games are at home. Your first game away from home is not a friendly, anybody can come here environment. It is on the Plains. It is against Auburn. You're halfway through the season, so Auburn at this point knows who Auburn is. That's going to be a tough matchup. I definitely think that the Tigers from Auburn win this ball game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the confused Tigers for sure.
There you go.
And look, just really quick, because I need to wrap this thing up, but we need to remember the quarterback situation in Mizzou is unknown. Quarterback situation in Auburn is known. They got Arnold from Oklahoma, and so I would have to give them the all right, then they go to Vandy. Then they go to Nashville and take on Vandy. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know who's going to win that game. I think it could go any way. If Pavia is playing well, Pavia can beat that team. Bert, I don't know.
I don't disagree with you. I think a lot of this game rests on how badly Auburn beats them the week prior. If it's a close game, I think that they can I don't think Vanderbilt of 25 is going to be the Vanderbilt from 24. I just don't. I think they're going to find their struggles. Everybody knows what Anchor Down is about. So I have Missouri with a win in this game, but it could be pretty close, and I'm with you. It could teeter on a loss, but I'm going to give them the win.
Yeah, I'll give them the W, but there's an asterisk next to that one because I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe a question mark. Maybe that's better. Then you come back home and take on the Screaming Aggies, and sorry guys, that's a loss.
Yeah, Manny, your boys get a win here. The Aggies take down Missouri.
Oh, for sure. Then you host Mississippi State. I'll give you a W on that one.
I agree. I think Mississippi State is still rebuilding. I think it's going to be an uphill climb for those guys, and they're not ready yet.
So as it stands right now, how many losses do we have? We have them with South Carolina, Alabama, and Auburn. So at this point,
and A&M.
And A&M. So they're a 4-loss team.
4-loss team
going into the last 2 games. So they're 6-4 going into the last 2 weeks. So next they have to go on the road to Norman, Oklahoma, and take on the Boomer Sooners. And sorry guys, that's a loss.
This is my question. Well, actually, these last 2 games are a question mark for me, because I could go one of 3 ways. I could go 0-2, I can go 2-0, and I can go 1-1 split. And it's because of who they're playing. It's because of how late in the year we are. We've talked about Oklahoma. We've talked about Brent Venables calling the defensive plays and how head coaches, playing coordinators has never worked out very well. So this could go either way with Oklahoma. I'm going to give Oklahoma the win in this one right now, but a lot will remain to be seen.
Yeah. And then the last game, they take on the Fighting Pittmans, the Arkansas Razorbacks. And because and not just because I like Sam Pittman and I'm pulling for the Razorbacks this season, but also I think the quarterback in Arkansas could be the difference. I do think he's going to have a pretty decent year this year. I'm going to give Arkansas the win. So I have the Missouri Tigers going 6-6.
That's where I'm at too. I believe that Sam Pittman, again, this is at the end of the season. Whatever struggles they may or may not have had have played out by this point in November. And I think the Pittmans take this. I think that both of these two games, again, Oklahoma and Arkansas, could play out a lot of different ways. I think that they'll be close, but I think Arkansas and the Razorbacks take this one at home. What this does is it brings us to our chicken scratch moment of the episode. Chicken scratch moments brought to you by OTC Kennels on Facebook and Instagram. Does the Kansas game stick out on this schedule as the most important game for the Missouri Tigers this year? Because that Kansas game, from my position, has you going either 3-0 into your conference schedule against South Carolina, or has you going in at 2-1, shaping your overall destiny. Are you bowl eligible or not?
Yeah, they lose to Kansas, man. The wheels fall off of their season, and they don't go bowling this year. They will not be Kingpin.
They will not be Kingpin, and the smartest man in Missouri is Eli Drinkwitz' agent for getting him that extension prior to this season.
Now, look, I know that remember, hate's a strong word, so we're not going there. Dislove for Drinkwitz. I get it. Does this season look as good as it did last year? They're not a 9-3 team. They're not. Do I think that is he a good enough coach to rebound the following year? Yeah, I do. So I'm not going to beat up the Missouri Tigers this year. I just think it's one of your down years. You lost to Brady Cook. You lost some other depth within your program, and I think you're going to pay for it this year. How does that translate next year? I think you're fine. I do. I think you'll be pretty good next year. I'm not going to say you're a playoff team next year, but I think you'll be okay. I think you have to weather the storm.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. I think that if I'm and listen, I'll put my non-fandom hat aside for Drinkwitz right now. The guy's a good coach. You can't deny that. He's a great recruiter. I mean, look at what he's doing at Missouri. We joked earlier, but 38 wins and 24 losses over 5 seasons. Excuse me, as he enters into his 5th season here at Missouri. And this season hinges on a couple of games. And looking at this, I can see him winning as much as 8, but obviously, as we forecasted, it could be 6 that he comes away with. It could be 5. Depending on how that Kansas game goes. This is just that year. The good thing is you've got that O-line. You lost a lot of those sharp, shiny objects with your quarterback, in your running back room, and your wide receiver room that put the big points on the board. But it starts with the O-line, so look for that to be your building block for next year.
That's right. But, again, this is just one of those setback years for the Missouri Tigers, in my opinion. And look, they may surprise us both or the world. Who knows? But I don't think so.
Maybe they'll end up with a Missouri painted water tower in Iraq.
Yes, could happen for sure. I don't know. Maybe in Moscow.
Missouri, Afghanistan.
That's right. That's it. Look, guys, like us, follow us, subscribe to us. We're growing. It's exciting for Chicken and the Dog, man. And we get new subscribers and new followers every week, man, or every day, actually. And all these comments that are coming in. I wish I had time to go over all the comments, but that would probably take me a few hours because there's just that many. It's what we like. We love the interact. We love the dialogue with you guys. And look, we don't know everything about college football, about 98%, maybe 99, somewhere in there. But there is that 1 or 2 or 0.5% where you might actually be right and teach us something. But I doubt it.
There you go. Right. Yeah, we'll never admit that.
No, we won't. But look, man, I don't have anything. Do you have anything?
I'm all crowed out.
All right, guys. Like I said, love us, like us, share us, subscribe to us. Love you. Deuces.
Bye.